on today's episode of All About Life with Danielle Brown. Here we go, Jesus. There's so much about me that I would want people to first think of other than she was sexually abused. I had a life of knowing and feeling in the back of my head, I guess, that the only other physical thing I'd experienced was really negative. Hey guys, welcome back to All About Life with Danielle Brown. It is just me this week, which is a little scary. I love having friends on every week to talk about life. So this is a little different, and don't worry, we are not going to make this a theme. This is not going to be a common thing where it's just me coming on, but today's episode is going to be something about me and very close to my heart. Last week, during our conversation with Kingdom Sexuality, I had mentioned during the conversation about sex and the impacts it has and conversations you have with your spouse, I had mentioned that I had gone through sexual abuse. And after that conversation, I guess you could say I felt convicted to have that as a topic, as an episode for the show. I have like a pit in my stomach talking about this. It's kind of weird to have an entire podcast episode on me, I guess, my experience. But every week I ask friends to come on the show and to get real and to talk about life. And I need to be able to do the same thing. So I'm obviously not going to share details. That's not, helpful or beneficial, but I do want to talk about my experience. I want to connect with you. And if you are someone who has also gone through sexual abuse or sexual assault, one, I am so sorry. I'm going to get emotional probably multiple times during this conversation. So thank you for your grace and bearing with me. But if you are someone that has gone through sexual assault, I am sorry. I am here with you. I am you. You are strong and brave. And there is nothing to be ashamed of. The hardest thing I had to kind of deal with, I guess, when I felt convicted about sharing my experience and doing an episode on it was I don't want this to be what people think about when they think of me. I want them to know me and my heart. Like there's so much about me that I would want people to first think of other than she was sexually abused. But I took it to the Lord in prayer. I spoke to my husband about it. I spoke to family seeking just guidance. And there is absolutely nothing for me to be ashamed about. I did not do this or cause this or deserve it. It happened to me, something that I've had to deal with. And so that I want to share with you. But again, if you are someone who can relate, unfortunately, there's nothing to be ashamed of. If you cannot relate, but you likely know someone who can, I hope that this conversation can aid in just how you can support your loved one, how you can comfort them and walk through the healing process with them. I am no expert. Let me just put that out there. I am not like a licensed therapist or counselor, and that is certainly something that should be used and taken advantage of if needed. But I'm your friend. I am your sister and someone that you can count on and trust. So let me get into I guess, my story. And if I kind of laugh or make jokes, just know that I'm not making this serious situation any less serious, but I tend to laugh and make jokes to make serious situations a little bit lighter. But hey, I'm also sharing my story, so I can share it however I want to, I guess. So, getting into it, I'm kind of shaking and nervous, but I was in the fourth grade. I am 27 years old, guys. And it is still kind of hard to talk about, and not because I haven't dealt with it, but man, okay, I was in the fourth grade. An older cousin who was 13, so also very young, was living with my family. My cousin had come from a pretty rough background. He himself had been abused, and my parents provided a home for him, to be safe and to care for him. And he took advantage of the situation, and he took advantage of me. I talked to my mom that I was going to do this episode, and I was like, I just want to make sure that you're okay with me sharing this. I don't want there to be any shame, as a mom holding regret or anything of this happening to their child. And my Mama Hensley, her and my dad have obviously talked about this a lot. And she said, while I would 1,000% go back and change it and have it not happen if I could, I would 100% do that. I don't hold any shame because there was no way for me to have known that this was going to happen. We provided a safe space that was taken advantage of. And so I'm thankful, and I'm glad. I'm glad that my parents are not holding any shame or fault. Like, obviously, this isn't their fault either. There's only one person at fault. And if you're someone that went through something similar, remember that there is one person at fault for sexual abuse or assault. Certainly wasn't me as a fourth grader. I remember telling my mom when it happened. We were going on a long car ride. Thankfully, it wasn't long after it had happened that I told her that something, I was like, I think I need to share something with you. I'm so thankful for how my parents handled the situation, because I know not everyone can say that when something like this has happened to them, that it was handled appropriately. And I'm so sorry if that's true for you. For me, I told my parents and it was handled immediately. And I'm so grateful for that. Not only then in that moment, but throughout my life, there was a very safe space to talk about it, to ask questions, to seek help if I needed it. And I am so grateful to my parents and my family for doing that and providing that, because it's such a serious situation. And I want to share the after effect of what sexual abuse can cause in a person. Again, if it's not something you've gone through, maybe this will help in understanding as much as you can of what is going on, I guess, through the victim. And I want to tread lightly here, but I do want to share, because it's serious, that so after I had told my parents the situation, I had to be examined. I don't even remember if it was like a healthcare situation or like a DSS situation. Not that my parents were questioned, but I had to go in, and I was with a professional and had to describe and tell them what was done to me. And I had to show them like on a Barbie doll, like what had been done. And I had to have like a formal physical exam. And the fact that I am 27 and can still remember exactly, like I can still see it and feel how I felt in the moment and remember exactly what I had to do. It does speak to how serious and impactful those times are and that kind of situation has on a person. And I will say, because I had extremely supportive parents and family where I was able to ask questions and talk about it, I was able to process kind of what happened. I forgave my cousin. I'm so proud of little Danielle after the fact, removed from the situation a while. Small little Danielle. I actually forgave him when I saw him. As an adult, I don't know if I would necessarily do the same thing now, because as an adult, I can see truly how heinous and despicable the situation is and was. But I am so proud of little Danielle forgiving him and doing that. But because I was able to do that and ask questions and process it, I will say growing up, it wasn't something that really like held me back or I just felt like it was handled. And I remember actually once Solomon and I got engaged, even a little before that, my mom encouraged me to, before we became intimate, to have counseling because it can kind of come back up. And I was like, oh no, Mom, it has been handled. It hadn't been a thing for me up until I got married or anything, so I didn't think that I needed to process it anymore. Obviously, I had told Solomon well into us dating about it, so he even knew before we got married. And then it was an open conversation also, which I will get into how appreciative I am of my husband and how he handled the situation. But even when I first told him, he handled it with such grace and love and protection. He was not happy to hear about it, not because of me, but he was mad at, I guess, the person who did it. But I will say that as someone who, I was young, it had been handled appropriately. I had processed it and like moved on, if you will. When Sana and I became intimate and started becoming intimate physically, I started feeling guilt that I wasn't expecting. And I'm a verbal processor. So as I was talking through these feelings with Solomon or my mom, you'll see that's a common theme here, just giving you a heads up. I talk to those people a lot. I realized before Solomon, and please remember, Solomon, my now husband, was my first kiss, everything. So I had never experienced anything physical with anyone else before him other than when I was abused. And obviously that came with such guilt and was such a bad thing that whenever I became physically intimate with Solomon, I was feeling this guilt and I couldn't figure it out why. And then I was like, is this okay? Wait, of course this is okay. Like, we're married. This is good. It feels good. Why am I feeling slightly dirty because of this? And it took like a hot minute for me to be comfortable with Solomon and our intimacy because I had a life of knowing and feeling in the back of my head, I guess, that the only other physical thing I'd experienced was really negative. And so that had carried on. So I want to send some encouragement to, again, my brothers and sisters in Christ who have unfortunately gone through similar things. I'm so sorry again, but you are strong. It's okay that it still can be a struggle or that it creeps up in unexpected times. I'm right there with you. And I'm not saying to get on a podcast or social media and show the whole world. I won't lie. It's something very hard for even me to do, and I'm hesitant to do it. But um, I would encourage you to find just one or two persons that are closest to you, that you know, love, trust. It is a good thing to be able to talk it out, feel it out, have someone praying over you and with you, and being able to walk with you in that. I'm so thankful that I had my parents and my family when I was young to walk through that with. And I'm so thankful for my husband, who didn't deserve to have to carry that weight, but is so graciously supporting me in every way that he can through it when needed. And if you are that person for someone, if you're the support, um, thank you. We appreciate you and need you. I don't know why that's making me emotional. But guys, today's episode, it's not going to be a full length one. It's going to be rather short because we just don't need to carry this on any longer. But again, I'm here with you. I love you. I see you. I am you, unfortunately. But we are strong and we can get through this together. Now, on a slightly happier note, actually 1,000 times happier, not only will this episode be a bit shorter, but this season is going to kind of pause halfway through because Solomon and I have some serious life changes going on. So next week's episode is going to be the last one for a little bit because Solomon's dream, and now my dream, is coming true. We are moving to Europe for Solomon to be a professional football player, American football player. And we are going to be living overseas for 6 months. We are so excited. It's so hard to go from something so serious to something so exciting, but I cannot wait to share all of our travels and experiences with you. But that being said, I want to be fully present in this very special time of life. I want to prioritize Solomon and all the traveling we're going to be doing, and I want to be fully invested in that. But I'm excited to try and take you guys along with us and to share how the Lord is going to use us while we are overseas and what that even is going to look like. Can you please pray for us? We really appreciate this community here at All About Life, and we are so thankful for you guys. My heart is so full, so full. Just know when you guys text me or DM me or tag me about the show, tears immediately come to my eyes. Thank you so much for joining and being part of this community. I hope this episode was helpful. And if it was too much and you had to stop halfway through and come back to it, it's no shame, in that either. Anyways, I will see you guys soon. Much love, and thank you for being real. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode of All About Life with Danielle Brown.